come down to see Brian May, and they're busy sorting out a song at the moment. It's all very exciting, I've got to say. They're doing Since You've Been Gone, which was a song written by Russ Ballard and a hit, if I'm not mistaken, for I think Rainbow in about 1978, 77, 78. Since You've Been Gone, Since You've Been Gone, all of my head can't take it. Do you think people get tired of pop stars telling them to stop doing stuff and campaigning?
Well, you know,
they have this figure of Bono in their minds, sort of flashing at them.
Well, I don't regard myself as a sort of celebrity. You know, this is really separate from what I do. You know, I have a certain notoriety, and because of that, people will listen to me a certain amount. I can open a few doors.
Notoriety? You're the best-known guitarist in the world, man.
All right. Well, thank you. Okay. I have a certain visibility, put it that way, you know, so I regard it as my duty to use that in the most responsible way I can. Yeah, people probably do get fed up with it, but I'm not one of those stars who sort of lends their name to a cause and then buggers off. You know, I'm someone who dedicates a good percentage of his life to working on this. In fact, it's an increasing percentage.
Well, I read that you said that you'd be happier to be remembered for the work that you've done for preservation of wildlife than you would for your music, unless that was a misquote. I mean,
no, it's pretty much true. You know, in a sense, I feel I have so many threads in my life, and it's been a rich and wonderful life. I'm very grateful. But in a sense, I feel they all led to this point. You know, they've enabled me to do some good in the world and change the way that we interact with the world around us. I think it's vital that we learn to do that.
The change that's happened since 2010 is not simply that it's a Conservative coalition government, but that you've got the crucial department which looks after animal welfare now in the hands of people who don't seem to care very much about animal welfare. James Pace particularly.
I know. Jim Pace is a farmer, you know, and farmers traditionally, not all of them, you know, it's very, you don't want to make sweeping statements. I know some great farmers. I know great farmers who are on our side as regards let's vaccinate rather than culling.
Yeah.
But Jim Pace is a dyed-in-the-wool old farmer who promised before he came to power that he would start killing badgers. You know, it's a clear promise. He started talking about this way before this government was in power. And I guess he feels he has to fulfill that promise, even though it's completely against all logic and it's completely inhumane and unjustifiable by anything whatsoever. Ethically, scientifically, economically, you cannot justify this cull. They must know. I mean, the only thing which will solve this problem is vaccination. And I have it on good authority, not from people on our side, but from people on the other side who've said, yeah, we're doing this, but the only answer in the long term is vaccination. We should be putting all our efforts into vaccination. We can vaccinate badgers, and that's actually all we can do at the moment because we're not allowed to vaccinate cows because of the EU regulations. That's insane. I mean, if your children were under threat from TB, would you start killing things all around? No, you would vaccinate your children. We should be vaccinating our cows. In my opinion, we should be doing it independently of Europe. You know, that would be my solution. That's where you've got to start. And the vaccines aren't perfect, but they're a bloody sight better than going out and killing random animals, which will probably make the situation worse. You know why it makes the situation worse. You know, when I have this great sort of PowerPoint called Culling for Dummies, you know, what happens if you start killing badgers, if they are infected and if they are infective, you are, by culling them, scattering them, and so all the farms around are liable to have an increase in the incidence of this disease if you buy this whole scenario of badgers being, you know, the main vector, which they may not be. And then, of course, once you stop culling, the badgers come back in, and you will have much more infected population of badgers than you had before. So you're almost certainly going to lose.
Would your former lead singer have had a passion for badgers, do you think? Was he interested in wildlife?
Freddie was very pro-animals, yes. I mean, he loved his cats above anything on this earth.
I could see that.
You know, yeah, I think he probably, it's hard to say. I'm pretty sure he would have been, you know, on the same side as I am, you know. The funny thing is, you get all this kind of emotion from farmers, and I can understand, you know, it's a hard problem. You're sitting there with a problem, not just a problem, it's something which threatens your livelihood, and so you look for something to blame. The badger looks as if it might be to blame, so, you know, let's kill the badger. I can understand this kind of emotional response. It's like, you know, this thing's hurting our children.
But so it's also part of the post-1945 way that we dealt with the land, which was we needed to get a maximum amount of food out of a small amount of land.
Yeah.
And you kill everything. That was the old way of doing things.
Unfortunately, farming as it spreads, you know, is kind of in league with city spread. You know, the city spreads more and more concrete. The farmer spread more and more controlled land, which is full of pesticides and whatever, you know. So wild animals get a tinier and tinier portion of the land to live in. That's why people think that badgers are on the increase. There's no evidence that badgers are on the increase. What's happening is their habitat is being slowly eaten up by other things. Same with foxes. We're covering the cities with more and more concrete. We're even covering the green bits with astroturf now. I mean, it's horrible what is happening. Where would a wild animal live? You know, we will end up, for our grandchildren, with a world which doesn't have any wild animals, which would be a terrible place.
Terrible place. Isn't the crucial issue then one of overpopulation as much as anything?
I think over human population.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think almost everything comes down to that. It's not spoken about very much, is it? But really there are too many of us.
It's not very PC.
No,
it's not a politically correct
but
issue.
it's undeniable that we are ruining the planet, you know, for not only for ourselves, but for every creature.
When's the coal due to start?
They won't tell us. They said they would wait till the end of the Olympic Games.
Because of course we could turn up.
I think a lot of people will turn up. You know, I will be advocating totally peaceful resistance to this, but resist we must, because it won't stop at badgers. They'll be killing everything. You know, they've already started talking about killing other wild animals.
Our largest carnivore, and a beautiful animal. I don't agree with you that it's intelligent necessarily. I know you.
Oh, you should come and see our badgers. They're incredibly intelligent, and they're very different from individual to individual. You know, they're like us. You get you know, boisterous ones. You get very gentle ones. No, badgers are fantastic creatures, and they learn very quickly. They know their territory very well. They know what's good for them.
They're rather dogged about their territory, aren't they?
They are
go on
indeed.
the same path.
They do. They're creatures